What up, Holmes?
What it do? What it be? What if?
A fat if. Hello, everybody. This is the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. And, like I said, the content just keeps on coming for us to view, enjoy. This week, we're going to be talking about Marvel's new show, What If?
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know, it's a new animated series about literally, what if? What if, Black Panther became a Guardian of the Galaxy? What if, instead of Steve Rogers getting the serum, it was Peggy Carter? Mm-hmm. All kinds of stories. They're definitely venturing out into even some other comic book stories they have never gotten around to in the movies. This is kind of a good place to do it, in my opinion, especially in the one of the trailers you see Captain America as a zombie, so I'm like, ooh, we're going to Marvel Zombies, and that's a great series of books to read, so you guys should definitely check those out. But this week's first episode for What If was one of the scenarios I talked about, where if Steve Rogers never got the super soldier serum, and instead it was the love of his life, Peggy Carter, aka Agent Carter, now in this series and in future projects, Captain Carter.
Yeah.
And I would say it's definitely a solid start to really hook you into the show. And I thought DC's had the animation game down with like their movies, their shows like Young Justice, Harley Quinn. I know is a really popular one.
Oh, it's so good.
Teen Titans. Basically, some of a lot of people would argue DC's way better at animation than they are in live action.
Yeah.
But goddamn, Marvel just coming in swinging with a lot of haymakers. This is one of them. So, Bernie, what did you think of the Captain Carter episode?
I thought it was a lot of fun. Like you, I think it is a solid start to the What If series, kind of like giving you the idea of like what this series is going to be without, I think, also at the same time, I think playing it a little bit safe with the first episode, like being like, this is going to be different, but not so much different. Kind of seems like a good, good little taste test before. I'm hoping at least it goes pretty wild, in these next few episodes. I think we're getting 9 in total for the season. So yeah, I mean, I did like this one. It was pretty enjoyable. The action was pretty well done, especially for an animated series, and I guess my only issues with it are with little story things here and there. But other than that, solid start.
Absolutely, and that's totally fair. My rating for this one, I'm gonna give a 4 out of 5. Just because the only reason it's not, such a, oh my god, it's a great thing to start with. It's just because, I think they definitely played a little safe, for good and for better or for worse.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in the spoilers in a minute. But, overall, I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the season. This was a really well-done episode, and the animation is top-notch. It felt like I was watching an actual Marvel movie, but just a little animation, kind of like reminded me very much of like the movie Beowulf with Ray Winstone, or the Final Fantasy like Spirits Within movie from like 2005 or something, whatever it was. So I really liked it. I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm someone that's a huge fan of 3D animated stuff, but I think after a little while it really grew on me. I thought it worked really well, especially for the action sequences, and then also for the character models themselves being at the same time simple but able to be really dynamic when they need to be, and they resemble a lot of the actors that we've seen in the movies and live action versions. I thought it resembled them really, really well. So. Like I said earlier, really saw the start. The animation, while I wasn't loving it at first, really grew on me after seeing the show, and I'm very much looking forward to the next episodes coming up. So yeah, for me it's a 3 out of 5 for sure.
Totally fair thing. So now we're gonna jump into spoilers. So if you haven't seen this, time to turn this off, check it out, come back, and like I said, come back when you want to talk about this. So. Burn, let's get started with the spoilers. Like I said, it definitely played it pretty safe in the fact that literally was just a retelling of Captain America through Captain Carter, but at the same time, I think it still works just because I love the aspect that even though she was the one who got the serum and stuff, she still fell in love with Steve, and Steve is wimpy and borderline pathetic as he was, it's like he still wants to be a hero. Like, that never changed. I'm glad that it didn't discourage him or anything, and he became the Hydra Stomper.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that aspect, that instead of the Red Skull getting the Tesseract, the U.S. got the Tesseract first, like the Allies.
Yeah.
And that's what helped Howard create the Hydra Stomper. So I really like that aspect, especially when she's fighting in the, like, I forgot what part of Germany, and she's like, yeah, coming in, Peggy. It's like, oh my gosh, she knows the Hydra Stomper? It's like, yeah, I think I do too.
Yeah, Bucky. It was cool, like, hearing like Sebastian Stan and a lot of the voice cast, come back for this episode. Even they even got like Stanley Tucci to come in and for a few lines, and I thought I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it seems like they couldn't get Chris Evans, and it doesn't look like they got Robert Downey Jr. And judging from the trailers, and that's going to be a little bit hard to get used to, I'll admit. But the fact that they got as many back as they did really lent itself to being credible, like a real part of this like cinematic universe, and not just like this other thing that's happening on the side. It's like, no, this is part of this overarching story that we're kind of taking right now, after the events of Loki. So I thought that was really cool.
To be honest, it wouldn't break me. It's not like a huge factor if everybody comes back, just because I know some critics and reviewers are really harping on that. Like, why couldn't they get everybody back? It's so important. I'm like, is it though? Is it really that big of a deal? Because it is animated, but I think the reason why some of these actors definitely came back. For instance, Haley Atwell played Captain Carter,
Mm-hmm.
reprised her role as Peggy, is just because there are rumors she is supposed to appear in live action projects as Captain Carter, because this is all canon now. This is all within the multiverse of the MCU. So I think that was a smart decision. I think for most of these ones, if the actors are back, then most likely they're coming back. But I know Dave Bautista wasn't back as Drax. I hope he comes back because I love Dave Bautista. That could just be maybe they just couldn't afford him. I don't know. It's Disney. It's weird. There's a lot of stuff with that. But
I think that's a good thing that they got at the very least Haley Atwell back, because because even she was only in the first Avenger, and then we got to see her again in Endgame, and unless you watched
Civil War dead.
Yeah, Civil War old and dead. So we didn't really get much of her in the MCU movies. I know she did get a show that was like on ABC or something at that point, but that was at those times where like no one seemed to really care about like TV shows when it came to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I feel like this is a good way, and if it's like you said, where this could potentially lead to this iteration of the character continuing in the MCU or in some form or another, I thought that was a really good choice to get her back, because the more we get from her, the better, because she is pretty awesome. And man, dude, the action sequences really, really took me off guard. Especially when she is a force of nature.
Especially when Hydra is taking the Tesseract back to Germany and she stops him, stops the truck, like, oh my god, I can do that? Like, okay. And just beating people in front of the truck, just like, very much like you would see in a live action. And I thought that's where the animation succeeded, that it was, it's animated so they could do a little bit more, but not so out of the ordinary. I'm like, no, I don't know why they couldn't get it done in a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? Yeah,
like the animation, as I said before, it really does a good job of being animated, but also kind of like grounding itself too, where you can like see, oh, like if this were live action, this would play out in this similar way.
And like I said, it was just, I love that they kept the romance. I thought it was still pretty cool. Like, another thing that I thought was cool, even though they played it safe, was just how she's basically fighting off this little Hydra creature. I think it's supposed to be that one demon with an eyeball thing. I forgot what its name, but it was always like in Street Fighter. It's supposed to be a Marvel villain, and there was rumors that it's set to appear in Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness.
Oh,
I don't know if that's what it was. It could be something completely different.
It's like some interdimensional being or something, right? Like,
yeah,
basically kind of like the Marvel's Cthulhu or something.
Oh my god, yeah. You haven't seen Underwater, have you?
No, I have not.
Oh man, Cthulhu in that one was just straight up horrifying. Like, he looked really cool, but it's I don't want we're getting sidetracked, but I thought it was still interesting that, she still made the sacrifice much like Steve did, and she owed him a dance. That part still kind of got me a little emotional. Like, I just felt really bad for her too, kind of like how I felt for Steve in the first Avenger, where he just gets out, like he comes back, but this time instead of like the Avengers scene where the Tesseract opens a portal, instead of Loki coming out of it, it was Peggy Carter with her shield and sword that she fought the monster off with, and Nick Fury's like, put down the sword, and it's like, that's Captain Carter, like you've been gone for like 80 years, and she's like, oh, like. Very much like I owed someone a date. Like,
yeah.
And it's like, oh man, sorry Peggy, like you missed out on that too. Like I even though again they play it safe, the emotional points and like the major plot points still worked really well for me. Like just like Captain America.
Yeah. See, I'm of two minds on this particular subject, because on the one hand, like you, I did really enjoy like, oh cool, like it's basically like, Captain America, where now we're going to get to see Peggy in the modern day with, her super soldier serum, and she's going to potentially lead, whatever version of the Avengers that are in that, particular pocket of the universe. But at the same time, I'm like, oh man, I really wish this episode wasn't so married to the first Avenger, like it was a lot of those beats where I'm like, it's just a truncated version of it.
It's so easy, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, I feel like we really could have done something a little bit different with Peggy, where I feel like she really kind of like deserved her own like type of story, where things played out like a lot more differently than that. But I can see why they didn't want to do it. It's just, for me, I'm like, it just felt so similar. I'm like, there were some points where I was just like, I've seen this already,
Yeah. I guess one of the other things I want to just, I guess the only thing I think that not necessarily bothered me, these are a couple things I'm just thinking about, because I'm pretty much, I have nothing else for this episode. It was so great. I loved Captain Carter, especially in action.
Yeah.
There are some parts I was like, damn, Steve, why the hell didn't you do any of this stuff?
Right, yeah, she does wield this like super soldier shim like pretty badassly.
Yeah. Two things I wish we could have gotten her with a helmet as well, just to kind of keep that little aspect. But at the same time, it worked perfectly fine without it.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if she does come to the live action, I would love to see her and Sam go at it a little bit, just because it's like, you're like, who are you? It's like, I'm Captain America. Who are you? It's like Captain Carter, and just have like have a little rivalry kind of thing. Like that, they don't trust each other, but it's like, I don't know. I think that'd be really cool. Just see the new captains just come in. It's like, oh, snap! This is gonna get interesting.
It's a power struggle.
It's a touching moment. Oh, the tiny one can't take a hit. I love Austin Powers. But anyways, I guess that's all I want to say about it. What about you, Bern? Anything else that you liked or bothered you about it?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the sequence in particular when it's like going through a little bit of the montage where she's just like, beating up the Nazis. And and then again the show got really, and the animation got really creative, where it's that scene where like she jumps from the Hydra Stomper like into a plane,
sick.
And the camera like tracks her through, and she's just beating them up. She jumps out onto another one. I was like, these action sequences are so creative, and I think they can get away with it a little bit because it is animation. But man, I would have loved to see that like in live action at some point, where I was just like looking at Steve like, bruh, why didn't you use your powers like this?
And actually, the other thing I will just talk about before we finish up is just, I actually really did like how she got the serum, and Tommy Lee Jones's general, or I forgot his character's name. I apologize, but how he died. Instead, it was like his second officer, one of those other SHIELD guys, or just the U.S. Army guys. It's like, no one's gonna believe a woman. Like, they didn't even try and do the same thing with her and like get her to rally the troops. It was like, great, a woman got the serum. I thought that was actually pretty spot on. That's how exactly she would be treated, where it's like, you're just a woman, why should we send you into battle? You're not made for that. Like, what are you good to us? And it's like, dude, she stopped the Tesseract from getting into the Hydra in Germany's hands. She basically saved a bunch of prisoners. She's winning the war for everybody. So I really like that little detail. I thought that's kind of a serious thing, and like enough for like kids to kind of get it. It's like, a girl can prove a guy, like, she's proven him wrong, so that's a good thing. Like, if I would totally if I had a daughter, it'd be like, this is the show you'd watch. Watch it. She's your hero now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I can definitely see her becoming like a role model of for younger kids. Much like one, it's very much like the Wonder Woman of this Marvel universe, especially at the end where she has like the shield and the sword. Like it was very evocative of Wonder Woman. I'm like, this is really cool, and yeah, I mean to like speak on that also, it it all tracks. It's like we see that when the super soldier serum came into the Marvel universe, whenever it like worked for people that they didn't want to, like Isaiah Bradley, and then now Peggy Carter, it seems like there's a tendency to try to like hide them from the masses and being known. So I like that they kept that consistency. It made it much more realistic, and again it gave her like something to overcome that she didn't have to use like her brute strength for.
No, and so like I said, I think this episode did a really good job. Yeah, again, played it safe, but for better or for worse, I think it worked.
Yeah, very entertaining.
Yeah, very entertaining, and I can't wait for the rest of the season. So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if Bernard, there's nothing else, right?
No,
we're good. Okay, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have seen this, let us know. Did you like the animation? Did you like Captain Carter herself? What were things you liked? Maybe they could have improved upon. Things maybe you felt like they were lacking in general. Let us know in the comments. But another Marvel season to kick us off for the rest of the year. And then, like I said, we got a lot more coming out. We got Free Guy coming out this week. Oh my God, I can't think of anything.
And Shang-Chi is right around the corner too.
Shang-Chi is right around the corner, hopefully. Let's keep our fingers crossed. No freaking thing causes movies to get pushed back or canceled. Dune is coming out soon. I'm so excited for that. So, and Venom too, which I'll most likely go see as well. All right, but I will talk to you later. Everybody, stay bodacious, keep on ranting, and stay safe, all right? I'll talk to you later, my brother.
Adios, man.
Deuces.